Mother broke the ice. I was just telling Mrs. Barnes about your brief encounter with Tina yesterday. I blushed. Mrs. Barnes smiled. Mother continued, and Cheryl was adamant that Tina honestly thought you were a girl. I wondered where this was going. Mrs. Barnes added, and I was saying to your mother about the possibility of doing some field studies, to museums and galleries. She paused. It would be beneficial to your final marks, you know. On one hand, I like the idea of getting out of the house. Cabin fever was setting in somewhat. However, on the other hand, what would I wear, or more to the fact, what would I be allowed to wear? Yes, it would be very beneficial, added Mother. I had to ask. But what would I wear? Well, I think on such an occasion your own clothes would be fine. Mrs. Barnes replied. What? My clothes. My face lit up. My own clothes. I stressed. Mother screwed her face as if to say, I'm not so sure. She obviously saw my expression change. Well, I have made a rule regarding what you can and can't wear. However, under the circumstances I think trousers will be okay, only if you go out on a field study day. Excellent, I replied. Well, that's sorted, said Mrs. Barnes, before promptly getting on with my next lesson. Mother gave me a loving smile as she left us alone. Where are we going to go? I asked, intrigued. Well, I'm not sure, but it won't be for a few weeks yet, she replied. Ages away, I thought, somewhat disappointed. The rest of the week went relatively quickly. On the upside, Mother allowed me to change out of my school uniform after supper as a rule. On the downside, my laundry pile by Friday was getting quite large as I'd worn 5 extra sets of clothes. Also, the postman arrived late Friday morning with a small parcel which Mother signed for. Of all the things I was expected to do around the house, thankfully answering the door wasn't one of them. She entered the study and placed the parcel on my desk. I expect this is from Cheryl, she said before leaving. I glanced up from my work and blushed as I read the address label. It was from Cheryl. Who else would write Rebecca instead of Peter? I patiently waited until lunchtime before opening the package. As expected, it was a small selection of earrings for me, which I looked forward to trying. Strangely, Mother asked to take my measurements at lunch. Obediently, I let her measure my chest, inside leg, waist, and hips. The fact that she also measured around my padded bra as well as my chest didn't go unnoticed either, however I chose not to question her motives. She left in the car mid-afternoon and returned a good hour after Mrs. Barnes had left. On her return, she entered the study and placed a couple of carrier bags on the floor by my desk. What's that? I asked, intrigued. It's a pair of smart trousers and a jacket, some new smart shoes and a blouse for when you go on your field trips, she replied. My face lit up as she said trousers but dropped as soon as I heard blouse. Oh, thanks, I replied. Can I see? I asked. Yes, of course, she replied. I opened one of the carrier bags and removed a pair of black trousers. I instinctively held them at my waist to check the length, and noticing they were a few inches too long, I said, I think they'll need taking up a bit, Mother. Oh, I shouldn't think so, she replied in her usual matter-of-fact tone. This is the matching jacket, she added, showing me a smart black jacket which was obviously cut for a girl. I folded the trousers neatly and placed them over the back of my chair. Next, I removed a shoebox. On opening it, I realized why my new trousers wouldn't need taking up. The shoes Mother had bought me were in fact boots. Ankle boots with laces all the way up the front and a chunky 3-inch heel. They looked old-fashioned. Victorian maybe. I dreaded the idea of doing up all those laces. That is until I noticed the additional zip fasteners. Well, thank the Lord for small mercies.